The laws of survival are written in blood etched into bone, sinew, and instinct across millennia of relentless natural selection. Across every sun-baked savanna, upon every wind-scoured sheet of polar ice, does the same ancient law hold true. Chest-high grass sways in waves beneath a copper sky. Hot wind carrying the scent of parched earth and sun-baked stone. Nothing moves except a pair of golden eyes pressed flat against the ground, utterly still, waiting with infinite patience. The lioness. Not the magnificent maned male lounging in the shade, the female is the true hunter of the pride. Males defend territory and fend off rivals. Females feed the family. Three females lie in ambush, bodies low and motionless, arranged in a precise crescent arc. One blocks the forward escape, two sweep the flanks. A coordinated tactic honed over millions of years of evolutionary refinement. "300 feet away, a herd of zebras grazes in the open, tails flicking lazily at flies. They do not know that death lies crouched in the golden grass, just minutes of desperate running away. Black and white stripes are not decoration. When the herd bolts as one, hundreds of overlapping stripes merge into a dazzling optical illusion, making it nearly impossible for any predator to isolate a single target, judge its speed, or close the distance. The lead stallion lifts its head, ears rotate, nostrils test the wind. A few tense seconds of silence pass, then it returns to grazing, not yet detected. The lioness erupts from the tall grass like a coiled spring released. 50 miles per hour achieved in the first few explosive seconds, maximum velocity from the very first stride. But that burst of speed holds for only a few hundred yards at most. Beyond that narrow window of explosive power, the hunt is already lost. The zebra herd explodes outward. Golden dust blinds the sky. Chaos, but chaos itself, becomes opportunity for the hunter waiting on the other side. The second female cuts across from the flank. The zebra changes direction, charging straight into the third lioness, already in position. The strike connects. The zebra staggers and falls. A contest that lasted barely 5 seconds from ambush to conclusion. A successful kill, but only 2 out of every 10 hunts on the Serengeti end with a meal. The other 8 end in failure, exhaustion, and hunger, the true arithmetic of predation. The lioness does not hunt through individual strength, but through coordinated teamwork. Each member plays a role. Every position is calculated. The law of the open savanna is clear, ancient, and utterly non-negotiable. No individual survives alone. But zebras are not the only species that must run for their lives across the Serengeti plains. Another creature, smaller, frailer, endures through a gift that no other animal on the continent can match. The impala, targeted by nearly every major predator across sub-Saharan Africa. Lions, leopards, wild dogs, spotted hyenas, cheetahs, and even large eagles. Hunted by all of them, yet still thriving in vast numbers. Survival depends on one thing and one thing alone: a state of vigilance that never ceases and never relents, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from birth until the final breath. Eyes positioned on either side of the head provide nearly 360 degrees of vision, leaving almost no blind spot. Ears rotate continuously like biological radar, scanning for sound from every direction. When danger draws near, impalas perform a stotting leap, springing vertically 10 feet into the air, all 4 legs rigid, spine arched, mid-flight, beautiful to the point of surreal. That leap sends a direct signal to the predator. I am strong, I am fast, chasing me is a waste of energy. Choose a weaker target. Reflexes fire within milliseconds of hearing an alarm call from any member of the herd. The entire group scatters in every direction, forcing the predator to commit to only one. The impala possesses neither the power of a buffalo nor the size of an eland, but it survives by remaining perpetually ready to flee, much like the caribou of Alaska, thriving not through individual strength, but through the herd and the shield of collective vigilance. But Africa's most successful predator is not the lion, nor the cheetah, nor the leopard. It is the African wild dog, the painted wolf. An 80% hunting success rate, 4 times higher than that of lions, and unmatched by any large terrestrial predator. A statistic that gives any biologist pause. The secret lies in a pack structure unlike any other in the predator world, fiercely democratic, rigorously disciplined, and bound by absolute, unwavering loyalty to every member. Before every hunt, the pack votes by sneezing. Once enough sneezes are counted, the entire pack moves out. The most primitive democracy on Earth. On the chase, they employ relay tactics. Members take turns leading the pursuit. No individual exhausts itself because no single dog bears the full distance. Sustaining 60 miles per hour over long stretches, prey always tires before the hunters do. No ambush required, no element of surprise, only superior endurance. After a kill, wild dogs share the meal equally with the entire pack without hierarchy or distinction. The sick, the elderly, the young pups that stayed behind at the den, every single one eats. No member is ever abandoned or left behind. Wolves in Alaska also hunt as a coordinated pack. howl across frozen valleys to locate one another each night, and share every kill with the entire family group. The same fundamental survival principle governs both, but at minus 40 degrees instead of plus 40. Whether under the scorching midday sun of the Serengeti or amid the frozen vastness of the Arctic Circle, the fundamental rules of survival never change. Adapt, cooperate, endure, or vanish forever. There is no third option. But in Alaska, the cold introduces an entirely new dimension of hardship, one that the sun-drenched African savanna never possesses. In this frozen world, the cold does not merely kill the prey, it kills the victor as well. Alaska. More than 600,000 square miles of untamed wilderness, twice the size of France, stretching from volcanic peaks to frozen tundra. In winter, darkness stretches 20 hours a day, swallowing everything into an impenetrable black that seems to absorb sound itself. Snow piles chest deep on a grown adult. Cold that does not merely chill, but pierces through skin, through muscle, into the marrow of bone itself. Temperatures plunge to minus 40 degrees F without wind, and when the wind arrives, the wind chill drops to minus 76. Cold here is not a threat, it is the law. And from deep within the boreal forest, strange clicking sounds echo steady, rhythmic, like a clock ticking in the darkness. Woodland caribou. Every deliberate footstep produces a distinctive clicking sound, tendons sliding over sesamoid bones deep inside the hoof structure, creating a biological metronome that no other species on Earth possesses. In blinding, howling blizzards, when visibility drops to absolute zero, that rhythmic clicking becomes the only lifeline, the sole acoustic thread, keeping a herd of hundreds from scattering and perishing, alone in the featureless white void. Hooves that are broad, concave, and uniquely adapted to function like natural snowshoes, distributing body weight across soft powder where any pursuing predator would immediately sink hip deep. The forces of natural selection have equipped the caribou with every conceivable tool needed to survive the most punishing cold anywhere on the planet. In winter, the footpads harden and shrink, while dense fur grows between the toes, transforming every step into a stride cushioned by natural insulation. They travel single file through deep snow. The leader breaks trail, each follower stepping precisely into the same tracks, not a fraction off. Every step that conserves energy is another precious second of survival purchased from the searing, unforgiving cold of the Alaskan interior. When hunger strikes, caribou use their hooves to crater through deep snow, a behavior biologists call cratering to reach Cladonia lichen, virtually the only food source surviving beneath the white blanket. A single determined caribou can dig through more than 3 feet of compacted snow to uncover a meal burning precious calories to earn just barely enough to replace them. The coat is a masterwork of biological engineering refined across ice ages. Each outer guard hair is entirely hollow, trapping pockets of still air inside to create natural insulation, while simultaneously providing enough buoyancy to keep the animal afloat when swimming across swift spring rivers. The true marvel lies deep within the nasal cavity. Nasoturbinal bones' intricately scrolled structures warm air from -40 degrees to near body temperature in less than a single breath. Caribou do not flee the Alaskan winter. They have evolved over millions of years to become an inseparable part of it. Migrating nearly 5,000 miles round trip each year, in vast, thundering herds, the longest overland migration of any terrestrial animal on Earth, from the shelter of boreal forest in winter to the open Arctic coastal plain in summer. That passage is not merely a test of endurance, but a trial of fate. Every river to cross, every ice field to traverse, could be the final one. But along that endless trail, not a single step is safe. In the shadows of the boreal forest, golden eyes have been tracking them for days. And with each passing hour, they are closing in patient shadows, tightening an invisible noose. Gray wolves, packs averaging 6 to 7 in Alaska, though some reach 12. They follow the caribou for days without striking. Not from any lack of strength or hunger, but from a hard-earned excess of experience. A mistimed attack in these conditions means squandering irreplaceable energy reserves in the grip of extreme cold. The wolf is a coursing predator, a pursuit hunter built for patience over distance. The strategy is never sudden ambush, but methodical, tireless observation, assessing each individual animal in the herd, reading gait and posture, and waiting for the unmistakable signal of weakness to reveal itself. An old animal falling behind the herd. A sick one stumbling. A juvenile straying too far. Those are the true targets. Not the strongest, not the fastest, but the weakest, the slowest, the one already carrying signs of decline. Covering more than 100 miles a day through deep snow, traveling single file, the lead wolf breaking trail, those behind stepping into the same tracks to conserve energy using the very tactic of their prey. Hunter and hunted share the same survival technique to cross the snow. The cruelest irony of the Alaskan winter, two enemies bound by the same secret of survival. the signal arrives. A caribou limping something wrong with its hind leg. In an instant, the wolf pack shifts from a leisurely walk into a full charge. The chase unfolds across deep snow. The wolves drive their quarry off the pack trail the herd has created, where chest-deep powder becomes a death trap for any animal that strays. Most wolf hunts end in failure, only about 10% succeed. 9 times hungry to earn one meal. But today, the caribou collapses into the snow. The pristine white snow turns deep crimson. Clouds of white breath rise from the steaming kill into the cutting cold life surrendered, hunger briefly satisfied. By consistently targeting only the weakest, the injured, and the failing, wolves perform an essential ecological service, keeping caribou populations genetically healthy across countless generations. The predator is not the enemy of the herd, but rather nature's most rigorous and unforgiving inspector. Yellowstone proved this beyond doubt. When wolves were reintroduced in 1995, the entire ecosystem recovered in a cascade of chain reactions. Elk altered their grazing habits and movement patterns under renewed predation pressure. Aspen and willow saplings regrew along exposed riverbanks. Shorelines stabilized as root systems anchored eroding soil. Beavers returned to build dams in newly recovered waterways. When the pack finishes eating, a howl rises through the night. Carrying more than 10 miles in the still, frozen air of an Arctic night, the loneliest and most haunting sound in the wild. A summons calling stragglers home, a warning marking territory, and a bond reminding every member that in this cold, survival belongs only to those who stay together. But wolves are not the only hunters active during Alaska's long winter nights. Another stalks in deeper silence, with greater precision and deadlier intent. The snowy owl, a wingspan stretching nearly 5 feet unfurling in the darkness. Plumage of pure white melting into snow, flawless camouflage, where everything is blank and white. The leading edge of each flight feather bears microscopic comb-like serrations, disrupting airflow and eliminating all sound. Flight in absolute silence, prey never hears death approaching. Asymmetrical ears, one positioned higher than the other, allow pinpoint location of a lemming moving beneath a thick layer of snow. One plunge, talons piercing through the surface, and the meal concludes in silence. Wolves pursue their quarry through raw endurance and coordinated pack strategy across open ground. Snowy owls ambush through absolute stillness, stealth, and preternatural hearing alone. 2 apex winter hunters inhabiting 2 entirely different worlds of predation. When lemmings are abundant, a single female snowy owl may lay up to 11 eggs in a season, an impressive clutch by any raptor standard. When food runs scarce, she may produce no eggs at all. The fate of every predator is bound inextricably to the fate of its prey. Two populations locked in a perpetual cycle, rising together in years of plenty, crashing together when scarcity returns. Project Snowstorm revealed that major eruptions typically follow successful breeding seasons, too many young owls competing for territory at once. Occasionally, snowy owls drift as far south as southern Canada and the northern United States, startling city dwellers who glimpse a white phantom gliding silently across familiar urban skies. But even the longest winter night in Alaska must eventually end. Light begins to return, minute by minute, day by day. First, a faint pink glow along the horizon, then gradually stretching longer and longer still. River ice fractures with reports that echo like gunfire. Hillside snow begins to melt, tiny streams trickling downward to merge into creeks. And from deep within the frozen earth, inside a pitch-black den carved beneath tangled roots, a mother stirs after 7 months of absolute silence and darkness. A brown bear mother, 7 months in the den without eating, drinking, or excreting. Her body has lost 40% of its weight, so thin that ribs protrude visibly beneath her fur. But she is not alone. 2 4-month-old cubs, each weighing only 5 to 9 pounds, were born in the heart of winter while their mother was still deep in hibernation. The first moments in sunlight, eyes not yet adjusted to the brightness, legs unsteady on unfamiliar ground. The world outside is overwhelmingly vast. The first lesson a mother teaches, overturning small rocks to find insect larvae hiding underneath, the first precious source of protein after months of fasting. But Alaskan spring conceals a lethal danger that the young cubs cannot see, smell, or comprehend. Adult male brown bears, more than twice the size of the mother, may kill cubs to force the female back into breeding conditions sooner. Infanticide, the deliberate killing of unrelated young, is a thoroughly documented behavior among brown bears across North America. Not meaningless cruelty, but a cold, calculated, and genetically driven evolutionary strategy designed to maximize the male's own reproductive success. The mother knows this by instinct. She leads her cubs uphill onto steep slopes, away from the valley floors where large males typically roam. Every step higher is a step farther from danger. But spring is merely the overture to the symphony of summer. The most remarkable phenomenon in all of Alaska is about to unfold, and it begins far beneath the ocean surface. The sea is calling, the rivers are waiting, and millions of creatures are preparing for the greatest pilgrimage of summer. Summer in Alaska arrives like a revelation. The sun barely sets 20 hours of golden light each day, transforming a land once shrouded in months of darkness into an explosion of color and life that defies comprehension. Wildflowers carpet the tundra in waves of purple, yellow, and white. Mosquitoes and midges erupt in astronomical clouds above every marsh and pond. And within this brief window, everything, feeding, breeding, storing, must happen immediately. There is not a single moment to waste. Salmon. Millions upon millions leave the vast Pacific Ocean to swim upstream against punishing currents, navigating hundreds of miles to return to the exact stream where they were born years before. Homing accuracy exceeds 90%, guided by microscopic magnetite crystals embedded in the brain that sense the Earth's magnetic field like an internal compass, combined with an olfactory memory imprinted years earlier with the unique chemical signature of the home stream. But the return demands an irreversible price. The body transforms completely from the moment it leaves salt water. Shimmering silver ocean skin turns blood red. Jaws elongate, growing a hooked protrusion called a kype, a weapon forged for the spawning battles ahead. And, most terrifying of all, the digestive system shuts down. Completely. Permanently. The stomach shrinks. The intestines wither. From the moment it leaves the sea, a salmon will never eat again. Every last reserve of energy is channeled toward reproduction. At last, reaching the gravel bed where they first hatched, females excavate nests with powerful tail sweeps. Males fight with hooked kype jaws, sometimes to the death, for the right to fertilize. Eggs carefully buried beneath gravel, incubating in cold, clear water through the long winter. And then the salmon die, every single one, without exception. Each dies after spawning. But their death is not an ending, it is the beginning of something far greater. Salmon carcasses decompose in water and along banks, releasing nitrogen and phosphorus, precious nutrients carried from the deep ocean, seeping into soil, into water, into the roots of streamside trees. Isotope studies reveal that 10 to 80% of the nitrogen found in Alaskan streamside vegetation originates directly from the decomposing carcasses of spawned-out salmon ocean nutrients feeding inland forests. Sitka spruce growing near salmon streams grow 3 times faster than the same species in areas without salmon. The ocean feeds the river feeds the forest. The forest shelters the streams where the next generation will hatch. Salmon are the bloodstream, connecting every Alaskan ecosystem into a single, breathing, interdependent body. The first to arrive at the salmon feast, the brown bear. The mother bear, from spring thinner now, but both cubs still healthy, reaches the riverbank. This is the second and most critical lesson for the cubs. Catching salmon, the skill upon which winter survival depends. The mother stands in rushing current, 4 legs planted like stone pillars, patiently waiting for a fish to leap above the surface, then snatching it mid-air with her jaws in a fraction of a second with stunning precision. Brown bears consume only the fattiest parts of each fish, the brain, and the lipid-rich skin, then discard the rest. Carcasses are dragged deep into the forest, decomposing beneath large trees, returning nutrients to the soil. Specialized bacteria in the brown bear's gut convert urea into amino acids even during hibernation, maintaining muscle mass through 7 months without food. Every fish caught and consumed now is fuel stockpiled for the long, dark, 7-month sleep ahead. Brown bears are not the only guests at the feast. Bald eagles arrive as well. Along the Chilkat River, 3,000 to 4,000 gather each season, the largest concentration of bald eagles anywhere on Earth. They scavenge carcasses that bears leave on the banks, steal fish from smaller bears, or snatch weakened fish drifting along the river surface. Bears carry fish from the river into the forest, where carcasses decompose hundreds of feet from the bank. Eagles lift remains from the shore to their nests high in spruce canopies. Both are performing the same essential service, transporting nutrients from the ocean deep into the heart of the Alaskan forest. And the tallest, largest Sitka spruce in all of Alaska, growing right beside salmon streams, owe their grandeur to the death of millions of salmon each year. While rivers overflow with summer life, offshore along Alaska's coast, another world operates under its own set of rules. The undisputed sovereign of the open water, larger, more intelligent, and far more dangerous than any predator the land produces. Killer whales. Pods, multi-generational families led by a matriarch over 60 years old, carrying 6 decades of hunting expertise. She is a living, irreplaceable repository of accumulated knowledge, remembering the finest hunting grounds across hundreds of square miles of ocean, the precise migration timing of every prey species, and complex strategies proven successful over decades of experience. When she dies, that knowledge dies with her. Each pod possesses its own dialect, a unique set of vocalizations passed from mother to offspring across generations. 2 pods, separated by just a few dozen miles, may speak entirely different languages. An echolocation system, more adaptive than any man-made sonar operating in complex marine environments. Wave-washing the most formidable tactic, the entire pod swims in synchrony to generate waves that sweep prey off ice floes or rocky outcrops. A technique documented by Pittman and Durbin. The target in Alaskan summer waters, the Steller sea lion, the largest member of the eared seal family. Rookeries, breeding colonies, perch on precarious rocky shorelines. A bull Steller weighing nearly a ton guards a harem of more than 20 females around the clock without rest. To hold territory in harem, the bull must fast completely throughout breeding season, up to 2 continuous months without eating. Leaving the rookery to feed even once for even a single hour means losing the entire harem permanently to a waiting rival. Newborn sea lion pups practice swimming in shallow water near shore. Clumsy, slow, unaware of the ocean and the hunters lurking beneath. And transient orcas, killer whale groups specializing in marine mammal prey, patrol the waters just off the rookery. The moment a sea lion enters or exits the water is the moment of greatest vulnerability. A burst of acceleration surging from beneath the dark surface. A strike delivered with devastating, bone-crushing force. Swift, merciless, absolute. There is no second chance in these waters. The rivers belong to the brown bear. The sea belongs to the killer whale. Summer in Alaska divides territory with absolute clarity, each body of water governed by its own code. But killer whales are not the only giants in Alaskan summer waters. Another species, larger, gentler, has also just arrived. The humpback whale. After migrating 5,000 to 8,000 miles from the tropics, they reach Alaska with a single purpose: to eat enough before winter returns. "45 to 56 feet in length, 40 tons in weight, the longest pectoral fins of any whale species, 16 feet. Megaptera great wing." £1,300 of food consumed each day, thousands of times the weight of each tiny morsel of prey. Bubble net feeding, a technique possessed by no other species, swimming in a rising spiral beneath a school of small fish, exhaling bubbles to form a cylindrical net, trapping thousands. Lunging upward in unison, mouths open to full capacity. The tongue forces water through baleen plates, hundreds of pounds of fish retained in each gulp. Songs lasting 20 minutes, audible from 20 miles underwater, the most complex acoustic communication in the animal kingdom. Magnetite in the brain senses magnetic fields, combined with celestial navigation using star positions in the night sky. Humpback and killer whale sharing the same Alaskan ocean but deploying two diametrically opposed strategies. One filters small fish through bubble nets, the other hunts large mammals with coordinated waves. If the grandeur of Alaska's ocean captivates you as well, share your thoughts in the comments below. But Alaska's summer is brutally brief. As the longest days begin to shorten, as the midnight light slowly fades, another race begins. Autumn's countdown clock pauses for no one, not for bears, not for caribou, not for snowy owls. From the highest snow-capped peaks down to the deepest boreal valleys, all of Alaska is transforming. Autumn has arrived and winter follows close behind. Alaska's vast boreal forest ignites in blazing red, burnished gold, and deep orange millions upon millions of leaves, dying in the most brilliant and defiant display of their brief lives. Autumn in Alaska does not arrive gradually. It descends like a verdict without appeal. And the most urgent racer in the autumn forest is not a large animal at all, but the American black bear, the smallest bear in North America. Far smaller than the brown bear, adult males weighing only 90 to 270 pounds, the black bear compensates for its lack of size with the agility and cunning of a born opportunist. Autumn is the most frenzied, urgent, and consequential season of the entire year. They eat continuously for 16 to 20 hours a day, in a state biologists call hyperphagia, a feeding frenzy in preparation for winter. Serviceberry, blueberry, cranberry, insect larvae dug from rotting logs, every bush, every decaying timber is a refueling station in the race against winter. The biological clock counts down without pause. Each passing day, daylight shrinks by 2 minutes. Each passing night, the temperature drops, a fraction lower than the one before. The goal is stark. Gain more than 30% of body weight, equivalent to 30 to 80 pounds of pure fat before the first snowfall. Failing to store enough fat before entering the den means never waking up. But storing fat is only half the survival equation. The other half, choosing a hibernation den. Insulated enough to retain warmth, but ventilated enough to prevent suffocation, the wrong den could be the last decision ever made. Hidden within every meal is an ecological service few recognize. Enhanced digestion scarifies seeds, promoting germination. Bear scat becomes fertilizer. Seeds are sown across the forest, with every wandering step spanning dozens of miles each day. The greatest glutton of autumn turns out to be the most diligent and effective gardener of the entire Alaskan forest. But the black bear never forgets that the brown bear, 3 times its size, competes for the same food sources. Every encounter ends with the black bear retreating. Retreat is not defeat. Black bears eat anything and climb trees. Far better the clever small generalist facing off against the specialist of brute force. High above where no trees can grow, where winds howl at 80 miles per hour year-round, the mountain goat of Alaska prepares for winter in its own way. Pristine white fur thickens with each passing day, 2 layers of defense against the extreme cold ahead. Dense undercoat wool traps heat against the skin. Hollow guard hairs form an insulating air barrier, growing more than 4 inches thick for winter. But the true weapon lies in the hooves. Each hoof splits into 2 independently moving halves, the outer rim hard as crampons gripping rock, the inner pad soft and flexible as rubber. That combination allows them to traverse vertical cliff faces that would leave even the most experienced mountaineer dizzy looking down. At night, they rest on rock ledges, barely wide enough to hold their bodies a single slip during sleep, and it becomes the final step. Each spring, the bodies of young mountain goats lie scattered at the base of cliff walls, silent evidence that not everyone passes the mountain's first exam. Kids stand steady within minutes of birth and begin climbing rock within hours. Mountain goats are not permitted a childhood because the cliffs never forgive weakness. Autumn brings new dangers stacked upon old ones. Early season ice coats familiar footholds. Avalanche, rockfall, and most terrifying of all, black ice, a killer more silent than any predator. Climate change is rewriting the map of survival. Vegetation creeps higher on mountain slopes, invading open rock zones, granting predators new pathways. A fortress impregnable for millions of years is slowly opening its gates. Mountain goats have no childhood. Cliffs show no mercy. Every step must be absolutely precise. There is no second attempt. Below in the valleys, the entire Alaskan ecosystem shifts into a state of emergency. Winter has become a reality, advancing steadily closer. The season's first snow falls on the highest peaks. Then each day the snow line descends lower, like a sentence being carried out step by step. Caribou begin massing into large herds, preparing for the long trek back to the boreal forest for winter. Behind them, wolf packs track in silence. The predator-prey cycle restarts. The Arctic ground squirrel drops its body temperature to -3 degrees C, the lowest recorded body temperature of any mammal on the planet yet, does not freeze. The line between life and death in Alaska is thinner than the ice on an October lake, and just as fragile. But it is precisely that fragility that creates the most brutal beauty of this land, where every second of life is a triumph. Alaska holds its breath. Every creature has made its preparations. Winter is coming, and no force on earth can stop it. But there is one winter that no creature in this story, not the bear, not the wolf, not the whale, was ever evolved to face. An entirely new winter. The winter of climate change, a season no ancestor ever endured, no instinct was ever forged to survive, no adaptation has yet been shaped to withstand. Alaska is warming at a pace 2 to 4 times faster than the global average, one of the most rapidly changing regions on the entire planet. Mean annual temperatures have climbed 3 degrees F in fewer than 50 years. Three degrees sounds insignificant. But where life and death are decided by single degrees, 3 degrees is an entire world turned upside down. Sea ice melts earlier each year and freezes later each season. The polar bear, the most iconic species of the Arctic, is gradually losing the very foundation beneath its feet. Less ice means less time to hunt seals, less food for mothers, and fewer chances for newborn cubs to survive. A downward spiral deepening with every passing year. Polar bear mothers now must swim farther than ever before. The documented record stands at 687 miles of continuous swimming, over 100 hours without rest, through freezing open ocean swells, an unthinkable ordeal endured just to find a single ice sheet large enough to stand on. Permafrost soil, frozen for millennia, is reaching record temperatures. As it thaws, methane releases into the atmosphere a greenhouse gas 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Yukon River salmon have declined to record lows. Fewer salmon means fewer nutrients for the forest, less food for brown bears, fewer eagles along the Chilkat. The ocean-river forest chain, witnessed during summer, is losing links, one by one, irreversibly. Vegetation climbs higher on mountain slopes, shrinking the mountain goat's kingdom and opening pathways for predators into places they have never reached before. Every species in this story now faces an exam that no ancestor has taken in millions of years of evolution. But there is clear hope. Humpback whales, once hunted to the brink of extinction, have recovered strongly following international hunting bans. Undeniable proof that conservation works when humanity truly commits. Alaska does not need saving. Alaska only needs humanity to stop destroying what took millions of years to build. Alaska is not a land of meaningless cruelty. Alaska is the largest laboratory on Earth, where nature ceaselessly tests the ultimate limits of life. Each season poses a different examination. Winter tests patience. Spring tests the instinct to protect. Summer tests speed and timing. Autumn tests preparation. Wolves teach that true strength resides in the pack, not the individual. The snowy owl teaches that silence can be the most powerful weapon. Salmon teach that death can be the beginning of new life. And the brown bear mother, fasting 7 months so her cubs might live, teaches that maternal devotion transcends every calculation of survival that nature imposes. Only one question remains. Can these astonishing creatures who have passed millions of tests across millions of years pass the next one? A test that humankind and humankind alone has created. Winter returns once more. Darkness descends upon Alaska like a curtain being drawn across the final act. Unbroken cycle of predator and prey, of ice and thaw, never truly ends. Thank you for joining WildVerse on this journey into the wildest land on the planet. We look forward to seeing you in the next chapter. The savanna of the Masai Mara Reserve is a brutal battlefield of survival. Where the ruthless laws of nature are relentlessly enforced through bloody hunts. At the apex of this complex ecological pyramid, 5 of the most powerful predatory species share absolute dominion across the plains. Lions demonstrate superior strength through their pack hunting formation. Crushing all resistance from large herbivores. Leopards employ flawless stealth skills among the dense canopy of leaves. Transforming the darkness of the woodland into a weapon of deadly surprise attack. spotted hyenas deploy a relentless pursuit-to-kill strategy with astonishing endurance, draining every ounce of their prey's strength before delivering the decisive bite. African wild dogs coordinate their combat operations with ironclad discipline during pursuits. Forging a hunting machine that operates with extreme efficiency and ruthlessness. Finally, the cheetah has chosen an entirely different evolutionary path by trading raw physical power for terrifying speed. To become the fastest creature on the planet, the cheetah's body has undergone a series of extreme biometric refinements. Sustaining such extreme velocity demands a biological energy supply system operating at capacities far beyond ordinary limits. Despite possessing superior evolved mechanical weaponry, the success rate of each hunt for this wild predator never reaches absolute perfection. The extreme trade-off for speed has severely compromised overall muscular strength, leaving cheetahs entirely outmatched in direct confrontations. Completely unlike countless other predatory species, cheetahs can only sustain their maximum velocity over an extraordinarily brief distance of merely a few hundred yards. On a radiant morning across the Masai Mara plains, an adult cheetah silently lowers its center of gravity, fixing its razor-sharp gaze upon a dense herd of Thomson's gazelles. The cheetah's spotted coat blends seamlessly with the faded yellow of the dry grass, allowing the hunter to skillfully conceal its presence from the vigilant eyes around it. With silent footsteps and intense focus, the cheetah gradually closes the approach distance without alerting a single gazelle on the grassland. The ideal distance for the explosive sprint has been established, the cheetah's muscles coiling to their extreme limit, like a steel spring awaiting the moment to unleash. Suddenly, the cheetah bursts from the concealing grass, igniting a chain of powerful mechanical movements and transforming into a golden blur streaking across the ground. The Thomson's gazelles instantly detect the mortal threat, the entire herd frantically bolting in every direction to confuse the target of their bloodthirsty enemy. The cheetah locks its vision onto a single gazelle, ignoring all surrounding chaos to channel every ounce of energy toward this specific target. The cheetah's flexible spine continuously coils and extends at a terrifying frequency, propelling the pursuit speed to the absolute highest limit in the entire animal kingdom. claws dig hard into the firm ground, producing sharp, dry sounds as the cheetah trails the gazelle through each tight turn across the uneven grassland terrain. The long tail whips continuously through the air on both sides to maintain perfect balance, helping the hunter adjust its running direction and track every evasive movement of the gazelle. But the gazelle also possesses a remarkable ability to change direction abruptly, continuously creating zigzag trajectories to bleed the powerful kinetic energy of its pursuer. The life or death sprint stretches on for dozens of agonizing seconds. Although the distance between hunter and target has narrowed to mere footsteps, the cheetah still cannot deliver the precise swatting strike to bring down the gazelle. The supreme speed grinds to a halt in the middle of the open grassland, its chest heaving violently to gulp down every breath of oxygen in a desperate attempt to soothe the overwhelming heat overload. A high-speed chase, perfectly engineered by nature, has ultimately ended in complete failure, due solely to the fatal weakness of this species' physiological endurance. The cheetah retreats dejectedly to the shade of a lone tree to recover its strength, waiting once more for another opportunity in the merciless survival game of the African plains. To dominate the vast wild savannas, lions have evolved to possess a body system perfectly engineered for the sole purpose of hunting. Lions are equipped with razor-sharp retractable claws, enabling them to move in absolute silence to approach their prey. As a herd of wildebeest ambles slowly under the scorching sun, a deadly encirclement has been established by these perfect hunting machines. The lionesses, with their sandy gold coats, employ absolute camouflage mastery. Pressing low to the ground and stepping in total silence, thanks to their retractable claws cushioned within fleshy pads. The wind blowing back from the wildebeest herd serves as a heaven-sent advantage, preventing the predator's scent from drifting ahead to give early warning to the targets. And this sudden appearance deliberately creates utter chaos, imposing an overwhelming psychological pressure upon the herbivores. The panic forces the wildebeest herd to frantically flee in the opposite direction, madly stampeding straight into the heart of the trap laid in advance. There, a lioness has been patiently lying in ambush beneath a thorny bush, poised to deliver the final strike from the most advantageous position. When the pursuit distance narrows to under 30 feet, a wildebeest stumbles and loses its footing on the ground. Instantly seizing the golden opportunity, the ambushing lioness launches herself with the full force of her massive musculature concentrated in her two front legs. The colossal mass of the great predator generates a devastating collision momentum that the large target cannot possibly withstand. At the decisive moment, claws like razor blades spring from their fleshy sheaths, hooking deep into the hip of the wildebeest. The annihilating force from the front limbs drags the target's body crashing hard against the ground with a violent impact. The sharp claws pin deep into the prey's hide, completely thwarting every desperate attempt to thrash free by the doomed creature. Without wasting a single second, the predator surges forward over the fallen animal, readying the next instrument of death. The mighty jaws gape to their fullest extent, plunging 3-inch-long fangs straight into the throat of the wildebeest. This ruthless and efficient killing process concludes swiftly within just a few brief minutes. Through cunning group hunting tactics, the lion pride has successfully brought down the enormous prey while minimizing the risk of injury compared to solitary hunting. This collective hunt is a masterclass in tactical excellence, where the power of alliance far exceeds the sum of its individuals. The motionless carcass of the wildebeest on the grass now becomes a vital source of energy, awaiting the other members to approach and share the spoils. While the females serve as the frontline warriors, the male lions shoulder an entirely different life-or-death responsibility of defending the territory and repelling all intruders. The enormous body mass, combined with the thick, luxuriant mane, transforms the male lion into the absolute symbol of power. Yet renders them far too conspicuous to regularly participate in ambush hunts. Instead, they dedicate the majority of their time patrolling along the boundary lines, stretching dozens of miles. Using scent markings to stake an inviolable claim of sovereignty over the land. The majestic presence of a male lion atop a tall termite mound serves as a clear warning to any greedy hyena pack eyeing the fertile territory. Under the midday sun blanketing the savanna, the male lion stretches his powerful neck high, draws a deep breath, and unleashes a thunderous sound wave from the depths of his mighty chest that shakes the very earth and sky. The roar of a male lion is among the most terrifying sounds, with low frequencies capable of traveling over 5 miles through the still and sweltering midday air. Each reverberating roar is not merely a resounding declaration of territorial ownership. It also serves as a locating beacon, announcing its precise position to distant pride members. The masterful division of duties between the hunting artistry of the females and the protective might of the males creates the most powerful social structure in the wild. It is precisely this pinnacle of hunting mechanics, combined with an impenetrable territorial strategy, that has forever inscribed the lion's name upon the throne of dominion across the grasslands of Africa. From atop the dense branches of an ancient tree, the leopard establishes a three-dimensional hunting domain to gain an absolute tactical advantage over the keen-sensed herd of impala approaching below. The coat, bearing asymmetrical dark rosette patterns, functions as a sophisticated optical camouflage network, disrupting reflected light patterns and deceiving the prey's vision. The hunter maintains a state of perfect stillness, using its cold amber eyes to continuously analyze every movement of the impala herd venturing deeper into the ambush zone. Biologically, impala possess superior acceleration capability and extraordinarily acute hearing. Capable of detecting even the faintest sounds from the layer of dry, decaying leaves. To overcome this heightened vigilance, the tactic of attacking directly from a height of 15 feet allows the leopard to completely eliminate the risk of detection from footsteps on the ground. When an impala steps into the most precise targeting position, the leopard's entire muscular system instantly tenses like a steel spring. Without emitting a single warning sound, the spotted assassin plunges straight down through the air with terrifying acceleration, delivering a devastating preemptive strike that shatters the silence. The leopard generates a destructive kinetic force, crashing directly onto the vulnerable back of its victim. The instant it touches down, the sharp, hook-shaped claws immediately embed deep into flesh, locking down the thrashing impala in its hopeless struggle to escape. A lethal bite is driven straight into the throat, with extreme swiftness, severing the life-sustaining airflow of the prey in the blink of an eye. However, successfully bringing down the impala is merely the beginning of a chain of grueling physiological and survival challenges that this solitary hunter must confront. The pungent scent of fresh blood spreading through the air acts as a chemical dinner bell, instantly drawing the attention of the ferocious hyena packs lurking nearby. To protect this vital energy source, the leopard is compelled to employ a concealment tactic by hauling the impala carcass up into the lofty tree branches. Simultaneously, the razor-sharp claws pierce straight through the steel-hard bark of the tree trunk, creating secure anchor points to haul the heavy load vertically upward. The leopard demonstrates supreme balance control during the slow but steady climb, despite carrying the cumbersome obstacle. Finally, the lifeless carcass of the impala is delivered into a zone of absolute safety. Gradually ascending away from the perilous ground and suspended over 30 feet above the savanna surface. The large mass of flesh is carefully draped across a forked branch, firmly secured to prevent it from falling and landing within the covetous sights of ground-dwelling scavengers incapable of climbing. The combination of invisible camouflage, lightning-fast mechanical strikes, and extraordinary muscular power has completely overcome the leopard's physical size disadvantage. The ancient tree branch has now been transformed into an impregnable aerial banquet hall. Where the victor can leisurely savor its hunting prize without needing to remain vigilant against threats from below. In the cool shade, the leopard uses its razor-sharp teeth to rip through the tough hide. Systematically grinding the muscle tissue to optimize nutrient absorption from the impala. The enormous caloric reserves from this intact carcass will fuel the leopard's sustained survival for many consecutive days without needing to undertake another perilous hunt. Directly beneath the ancient tree, a few famished hyenas catch the scent of dripping blood and gaze upward with envious eyes at the treasure dangling beyond their reach in utter futility. The furious growling howls of the hyena pack, rising from the parched ground below, only further elevate the commanding status of the spotted creature, lounging serenely upon its throne of branches. Anatomical survival analysis clearly indicates that no ground-dwelling carnivore possesses the pelvic structure and claws powerful enough to climb up and challenge the leopard's suspended position. By ruthlessly exploiting the vertical dimension of space, the superior survival intelligence of this great cat has transformed the complex terrain into the most impregnable defensive fortress of all. As the afternoon sunlight begins to fade, the dark spotted coat once again demonstrates its peak optical camouflage capability. allowing the predator to merge completely into the still and silent space. Amid the droning of insects, the silhouette of the three-dimensional assassin seemingly vanishes into the realm of invisibility. The brutal struggle for life and death reflects the power within every slab of solid muscle. From the stealthy stalk to the defense of its prize, the leopard has transcended the limits of terrain to affirm its unrivaled status as a perfect biological killing machine on the savanna. Under the fading twilight of the arid African savanna, the art of hunting reaches its pinnacle of pragmatism through the relentless pursuits of the valiant wild dog. The African wild dog pack deploys a hunting strategy founded upon abundant physical fitness and extraordinary stamina over long pursuit distances. Having clearly identified their target within the impala herd, the hunting party patiently trails at a steady pace, aiming to drain the victim's stamina rather than launching a blitz attack. The wild dog pack coordinates in seamless harmony to create a perfect suffocating encirclement formation. Continuously pressuring and cutting off every escape route for the panicking impala. Under the lingering oppressive heat, the impala's heart pounds furiously as it is forced to continuously exhaust its strength, fleeing from the footsteps that never once slow down behind it. The life or death race stretches on endlessly until the impala collapses from exhaustion. Staggering and crumpling onto the parched ground in utter helplessness before the bloodthirsty pack of predators. In stark contrast to the clean suffocation kill of the lion, the wild dog pack unleashes the most primitive brutality the instant the victim falls upon the grass. The flesh-tearing feast begins while the impala is still conscious. Its agonizing cries are completely drowned out by the horrifying sounds of chewing and swallowing from the wild pack. This method of eating alive is extremely savage, yet serves as a core survival mechanism to consume food as rapidly as possible before other predators discover it. The lightning-fast devouring speed is the wild dog's optimal defensive strategy against the rampant problem of food theft on the savanna. The phenomenon of food robbery, also known as kleptoparasitism, unfolds as a brutal law that reshapes the survival hierarchy of countless wild species. Even the most skilled hunters cannot peacefully enjoy their hard-won spoils. For the stench of blood always attracts the stalking eyes of hordes of hungry predators. Scavenging species such as vultures and spotted hyenas constantly lurk, gathering into loud, aggressive mobs. Using numerical superiority to seize the delicious meal, however, the most dreaded risk of losing a kill does not come from the rowdy hyena pack. But from the absolutely authoritative shadow of the massive male lions. In contrast to the collective defensive advantage of wild dogs, solitary hunters like the cheetah are the most wretched victims of this law of theft. A cheetah has just successfully brought down a male Thompson's gazelle after a wind-splitting sprint that drained every last drop of its energy. The lone hunter has barely caught its breath when a spine-chilling signature sound echoes from the nearby bushes. It is the dreaded dinner bell of the spotted hyena, a creature that routinely uses numerical superiority or sheer stubbornness to commandeer a fine meal. With its supremely sensitive nose, the spotted hyena has detected the scent of fresh blood drifting through the air and immediately approaches the target. Making no attempt at stealth, the creature wielding its bone-crushing jaws lumbers forward with an air of overwhelming dominance to intimidate the exhausted hunter. The massive musculature, concentrated in the front quarters of the spotted hyena, creates a menacing downward-sloping gait, pressing in toward the freshly downed prize. The cheetah growls a warning, straining to raise its neck fur on end to appear larger in a desperate bid to protect the hard-earned meal. However, the extreme trade-off for speed has severely compromised overall muscular strength. Leaving the cheetah entirely outmatched in direct confrontations. The spotted hyena nonchalantly bares its fangs in a display of brute force. Ready to use raw primal aggression to rob the prize outright. Facing a relentless and dangerous adversary, the cheetah is forced to make the decision to back down and preserve its life rather than die for a single meal. This bitter concession affirms the brutal truth of the wild, where the law of theft reshapes the survival hierarchy. Claiming the entire gazelle carcass, the hyena savagely rips through the thick hide, ravenously devouring the succulent flesh at a terrifying pace. The supreme jaws of this predator allow it to crush and swallow everything whole. From the toughest sinews to the hardest segments of bone, in no time, the vast majority of the meat has been swept clean until complete satiation. The moment the hyena turns its back and departs, the remaining scraps immediately fall within the sights of scavenging opportunists. Black-backed jackals dart out from the withered grass, nimbly approaching the scene to scrounge the meager remnants left behind. Lacking an imposing physique or devastating bite force, this small predator compensates with cunning and supremely agile survival reflexes. Its characteristically slender, elongated snout allows the jackal to slip easily into the narrowest gaps between the rib cage to strip away the very last scraps of meat. The large upright ears function as a radar surveillance system, continuously scanning the surroundings to be ready to flee if a larger predator happens to return. Their appearance perfectly fills the third tier of the theft pyramid. Where the smallest creatures sustain their lives on the leftovers of the dominant. Yet the jackal's hasty scavenging feast is cut short when another massive cleanup crew begins descending from the sky above. High in the endless blue sky, white-backed vultures begin circling in spiraling patterns to locate the rotting carcass. They appear as the most devoted biological sanitation squad, bearing the duty of cleansing the entire vast expanse of the plains. With their supremely sharp vision, these scavenging birds have observed the entire robbery from the boundless heights above. Their enormous wide wingspans allow vultures to ride the thermal air currents. Maintaining continuous presence without expending any energy on flapping, When one individual dives down, that movement instantly becomes a rallying signal, summoning countless others to share the remains. The vulture flock descends upon the carcass area in a noisy frenzy, crowding into a mob, fighting over every last morsel. They are experts at exploiting remnants, wedging their sharp beaks into the smallest bone crevices to extract the last decaying muscle tissue. The long, featherless neck allows them to freely plunge deep into the hollowed cavity of the carcass without worrying about being matted with reeking blood. By consuming the rotting flesh, the scavenging birds play a pivotal role in preventing the spread of countless diseases in nature. The vulture's stomach is a chemical reactor with extreme acid concentration, powerful enough to dissolve and completely destroy lethal pathogens. This mechanism transforms them into nature's biological incinerators, shouldering the mission of preventing every pandemic across the savanna. Their voracious appetite functions as a natural biological decontamination process, halting the catastrophe of cross-infection across the grasslands. The feeding frenzy of the vulture flock creates piercing shrieks. Reflecting the fierce competition even at the lowest tier of the food chain. Without the presence of these diligent cleanup specialists, the savanna would rapidly transform into a colossal wasteland overflowing with decay and death. Every scrap of rotting meat, sinew, cartilage, and even bone marrow is completely digested to close a perfect nutrient cycle. The white-backed vultures flap their heavy wings, once again soaring into the sky to continue their endless airborne search from above. From the exhausted hunter, to the tyrannical robber, to the cunning scavenger, to the cleanup vultures, all have laid bare the naked brutality of the wild. No waste is tolerated on the savanna. Every gram of energy must circulate through the merciless links of the chain. The kinetic energy of the cheetah's pursuit transforms into the violent feast of the spotted hyena, then becomes essential nourishment for countless species that follow. The interdependence between the kleptoparasitic species and the scavengers is the key to maintaining a closed and sustainable ecosystem. Without the relentless plundering of the hyena, the imbalance in food supply could shatter the existing survival order. The portrait of the wild ecosystem is constantly reshaped hour by hour through confrontations that never reach a resting point. The unforgiving battles over food generate a punishing biological pressure. Compelling every wild species to continuously upgrade its survival weaponry. Every second in this place conceals countless unpredictable dangers. Each species proudly plays the role of an essential gear within a complex ecosystem that has been shaped over millions of years. Despite the endless suffering and the wrenching separations of life and death, the eternal wheel of the wild ecosystem shall continue its majestic turning forevermore. Thank you for journeying with WildVerse. Where the natural world still holds countless magnificent stories waiting to be told. If today's story has touched your heart, please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to continue our reunion on the next expedition. Alongside the grim fates that nature has decreed. Millions of hooves drum against the cracked earth, dust rising like the smoke of an ancient battlefield. Ahead, the Mara River churns, and beneath its murky surface, dozens of cold eyes lie open. No one wants to step in first. No one wants to be the offering. But thirst permits no hesitation. An old wildebeest bull, scarred and deeply weathered by seasons, plunges into the current, and as though answering an invisible command, thousands follow, transforming the river's surface into a churning mass of living bodies. The rasp of labored breathing, the violent crash of water, the desperate calls of calves swept away from their mothers. Every passing second places another life upon the scales. Nile crocodiles have waited for precisely this moment. Stretching over 16 feet, weighing nearly 1,650 pounds, they have lain motionless for weeks, patient as stone, silently waiting for the river to deliver its own feast. One lunge, one devastating body roll. The river runs red. Each year, more than 1.5 million wildebeest and 250,000 zebras undertake the single greatest overland migration on Earth across the Serengeti. This is not a wandering search for new territory. This is a pursuit of water. Nothing more, nothing less. Welcome to WildVerse, where we explore the most extraordinary stories the natural world has to offer. The savanna covers nearly 20% of Earth's total land surface and roughly half the African continent. From vast tropical grasslands to sprawling seasonal wetlands, everything operates under the same immutable law. Whoever controls water controls everything. This is the first law of the savanna. Three faces of the savanna: tropical, temperate, and flooded, each harboring a distinct and complex ecosystem. Yet beneath the surface, the same war rages, a war for every last drop of water. But certain creatures have evolved to survive entire months without drinking a single drop. Their secret will reshape how we understand life on the grasslands. To grasp that war, we begin where water still flows in abundance, the ancient Serengeti, as the long-awaited rains return. And there, beneath the canopy of weathered, gnarled acacias, the holders of life and death are already establishing an order of their own. The Serengeti stretches across 12,000 square miles. From the volcanic highlands of Tanzania deep into Kenya's Masai Mara, one of the last pristine ecosystems remaining intact on Earth. When the rains arrive from November, the parched grasslands erupt into life within weeks. Grass grows waist-high, water fills the hollows, and the Serengeti becomes a banquet for more than 70 species of large mammals. One and a half million wildebeest concentrate on the rich southern grasslands alongside 250,000 zebras. This is the single largest gathering of mammals anywhere on the planet. But on the Serengeti, abundance always walks hand in hand with peril. And peril here wears many faces, not all of them visible. Between 3,000 and 3,500 African lions divide territory across the Serengeti Mara ecosystem. They do not claim land, they claim water. A lion pride, typically 10 to 15 individuals, establishes its sphere of influence around the most strategic waterholes. Where there is water, prey will come of its own accord. The lionesses are the primary hunters. They coordinate under the cover of darkness, encircling from multiple angles, exploiting the precise instant prey lowers its head to drink. Patience is their sharpest weapon, and they wield it with lethal precision. At night, when darkness strips prey of its long-range vision, lions become nearly invisible. They approach waterholes from downwind, flatten into the grass, and wait sometimes for hours without the slightest twitch. When prey bows its head to drink, vision obscured, hearing masked by the rush of water the lions strike. The distance from absolute silence to explosive, lethal violence, no more than 3 seconds. 6,000 wildebeest fall to lion claws and teeth each year on the Serengeti, yet that figure accounts for less than 0.5% of the total herd. The ecosystem calculates everything with cold precision. Male lions larger in frame, crowned with thick, imposing manes, rarely hunt. Their duty is to defend territory, guard the water source, and ensure no rival males dare trespass. A lion's roar carries up to 5 miles across the open grasslands, a sound that reverberates through the chest of every creature within range. It is not a threat. It is a declaration of sovereignty. This waterhole has an owner. But lions are not the only power contesting the water. Spotted hyenas, the eternal, calculating rivals, track every movement of the lion pride with equal patience. A spotted hyena clan can number 60, even 80 individuals, outnumbering any lion pride many times over. And they are not the scavengers that popular myth would have us believe. "60 to 75% of a spotted hyena's diet comes from its own kills. They pursue prey for miles, needing not peak speed but superior endurance. Hyena society follows a strict matriarchal hierarchy. Females dominate entirely. The lowest-ranking daughter of the alpha female still outranks every single adult male in the clan. And their most fearsome weapon, a bite force of 1,100 pounds per square inches, nearly double that of a lion. Those jaws crush bone, crush skull, crush everything that others leave behind. Hyena droppings are chalk white, a telltale signature of calcium from bones digested entirely. Nothing is wasted on the savanna, not even the dead. The eerie, bone-chilling laughter of hyenas rings through the Serengeti night, not an expression of amusement, but a sophisticated communication signal between clan members, each tonal variation carrying a distinct message. As the dry season forces all creatures toward the shrinking waterholes, lions and hyenas clash more frequently. Midnight confrontations, fierce and bloody, erupt around every last remaining pool. "30 hyenas can overwhelm a group of 5 lionesses, through numbers, through stamina, through a ceaseless barrage of ear-splitting snarls." On the savanna, power is measured not only by strength, but by who is willing to endure the longest. But one creature stands apart from this power struggle, not out of weakness, but because raw, explosive speed grants it the privilege of writing its own rules. The cheetah, the fastest land animal on Earth, reaches 70 miles per hour in terrifying, explosive bursts of acceleration. But speed always exacts a heavy price. The cheetah's body is a masterwork of aerodynamics. 40 million years of evolution sculpted for one purpose: speed. A spine flexible as a spring, non-retractable claws gripping like cleats, a long tail balancing like a rudder. But even a fighter jet needs fuel, and the cheetah's fuel, like everything else on these plains, is water. Each chase lasts only 20 to 30 seconds. Body temperature spikes, muscles seize, and the body sheds enormous amounts of water. Success stands at 40 to 50% half the time. The cheetah runs to exhaustion and returns empty-handed. After every hunt, whether won or lost, the cheetah must drink immediately, and the moment it lowers its head to the waterhole, spent and unguarded, is the moment a lion or hyena steals the kill. Speed delivers the meal, but the thirst that follows speed, the desperate, all-consuming, vulnerable need for water, can take everything away. The Serengeti is only one piece in a far larger mosaic. The African savanna stretches from the Sahel to the Cape of Good Hope, sustaining more than 8,000 plant species and over 1,500 large mammal species. Everything from the smallest blade of grass to the largest elephant revolves around a single, unforgiving axis, the water cycle. When the rains end in the southern Serengeti, millions of creatures begin to move northward. The Great Migration is not an aimless wandering driven by instinct. It is the largest organized pursuit of water on the planet, a pilgrimage written in hooves and dust. One and a half million wildebeest lead the procession, followed by zebras and Thompson's gazelles. They travel in a counterclockwise arc, chasing the rains as they shift northward. No maps, no leaders, no scouts sent ahead. Only genetic memory, etched deep across millions of years, and the scent of water carried on the wind. During the calving season, from January to March, roughly 500,000 wildebeest calves are born on the wide southern grasslands. They stand and run within mere minutes of birth. There is no alternative. In a land where predators outnumber patches of shade, to stand still is to die. Every calf learns this truth within its first breath. The Mara River, crossing the most perilous passage of the Great Migration, unfolds from July through October. Thousands crowd the steep banks, hesitate, then plunge in a surge of collective panic. Many drown, are crushed, or slip on the treacherous mud banks. Carcasses drift downstream, feeding crocodiles, vultures, fish, and the riparian ecosystem for weeks. Their deaths are not meaningless. Each is a link in a nutrient chain that the current carries from grassland to river, from river to floodplain, sustaining millions of other organisms. And when the rains return to the south, the survivors turn back, retracing that blood-soaked path once more. Year after year, generation after generation, without ceasing. This is not blind instinct. It is a contract, millions of years old, between wildebeest and water, a covenant etched in genetics. Whoever breaks the contract dies. But the savanna has not always looked this way. Between 8 and 5 million years ago, this land was thick tropical forest. As the climate shifted, the trees retreated, yielding to boundless grassland. Grass, the most unremarkable of plants, rewrote the course of evolution. Animals had to run faster, see farther, and cooperate tightly to survive on open terrain with no cover. And it is water alone that dictates where grass grows, when it grows, and how much, thereby governing the entire food chain above. The wet season transforms the savanna into a refuge. Water pools scatter everywhere, prey disperses, and predators must work harder, no longer able to ambush at a single choke point. But that lush paradise never lasts. It was never meant to. On the African savanna, the spotted hyena is often dismissed as an opportunistic scavenger, but in reality, they are formidable hunters. The majority of their diet comes from hunts carried out by their own clan. Their strength lies in teamwork. The entire clan, led by a dominant female, works together to pressure their target. The characteristic laughter is not mockery, but a tactical language, encoded signals that help the clan tighten its encirclement. When the prey falls, a chaotic feast begins. Nothing is wasted. On this savanna, where the lion rules by strength and the leopard by solitary stealth, the spotted hyena wins through unity. Their chorus is the sound of cooperation, of a unified force conquering the harshest of challenges. But even the chorus of the victor must fall silent when the true king roars. And then there is a sound that can silence all noise, a sound that makes the entire savanna hold its breath. It is not the chaotic cry of a pack, but the solitary declaration of a monarch. When the lion's resounding roar echoes, it is not just a warning, but a command. Every creature, even the most numerous hyena clans, understands the true power has just spoken. The glorious return of the king of predators. Under the heat of the savanna, a pride of lions blends into the landscape, waiting patiently. They are the only big cats that hunt in groups, a deadly coalition led by the females. Today's target is the African buffalo, a colossal and extremely dangerous opponent. The hunt begins not with a roar, but with the absolute silence of a pincer movement. Then, the attack explodes, a brutal dance of power and coordination. Claws and fangs combine to bring down the nearly one-ton giant. When the dust settles, the dominant male appears, asserting his power and the right to eat first. The Feast of the Rulers is a primal spectacle, but by no means private. The scent of death travels far, summoning uninvited guests from the sky. High above, vultures circle, ready to close the circle of life. As the harsh, dry season takes hold, all life on the savanna is compressed around the scarce waterholes. The daytime temperature can exceed 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The nearly 6.5-foot long neck of a giraffe slowly descends to drink, its posture slow but its gaze never wavering from vigilance. Motionless for hours on end, a Nile crocodile turns patience into its ultimate weapon, waiting for a single moment of vulnerability. A hippopotamus displays its power with a wide-open jaw, showcasing a crushing bite force of over 1,800 pounds. From above, an African fish eagle soars, ready to dive as soon as the shadow of a fish flashes by. The spotted hyena lies in wait, prepared to surround any solitary or exhausted wanderer. Each creature brings its own calculation when it comes here. These waterholes are the very line between life and death. And yet, the deadliest trap of all lies quietly beneath that placid surface. Imagine you are crossing the vast plains, where the dry season sun bakes the earth and every blade of grass trembles. Amidst that endless space, a waterhole suddenly appears. A vibrant congregation is taking place here. Elephants, zebras, giraffes, antelopes, even nocturnal travelers, like the black rhino, all gather, creating a bustling dance of survival. The waterholes on the savanna can be formed naturally or as a result of human intervention. Sometimes, it is the elephants themselves who are the authors. They often use their tusks to dig for minerals. Over time, these small pits can become long-lasting water sources, creating miniature ecosystems. In addition, the large national parks and nature reserves across Africa have proactively built hundreds of artificial waterholes. In the 1980s, in South Africa's Kruger National Park, about 300 waterholes and 50 reservoirs were developed. Meanwhile, in Namibia's Etosha National Park, the entire landscape is dominated by a giant, dry salt pan. Here, the system of waterholes is more evenly distributed between natural and artificial sources. A few of Etosha's most iconic waterholes have become focal points for the wild world and a magnet for global tourism. At night, these places are often illuminated, offering humans a rare chance to witness moments of quiet and magic. As the first rays of dawn appear, the African savanna enters one of the few cool periods of the day. The dry season temperature at this time usually ranges from 57 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The air is still, and the ground has not yet accumulated heat. This is the characteristic moment for the appearance of the small and cautious grazers. They arrive very early to enjoy the peace, before the predators begin their day's activity. This is the springbok, one of the earliest visitors to the waterhole. They never move alone, but always in herds. Each individual maintains a safe distance, enough not to be cornered in case of trouble. Each time it stoops to drink, it lasts only a few seconds before it immediately looks up, its ears pricked, its muscles tense like a bowstring. When agitated, the springbok can leap 6 to 10 feet high, its back arched and the white hair along its spine erect. It is a message to the predator. I have seen you. Data from camera systems show that they only stop at the waterhole for extremely brief moments, unlike species like the zebra, which stay longer. It is this short exposure time that has helped them significantly reduce the risk of ambush. And as the vigilance gradually fades, another kind of bustle immediately fills the space. As the cautious gazelles retreat, the stage is left to a smaller but much more energetic species. Each flock usually has from 10 to 25 birds, moving as a united social block. This noisy presence is even beneficial to grazers like the impala or wildebeest, as they provide an early warning system. Amidst the open space of the savanna, an alarm call from a guinea fowl can travel up to 164 yards. Although they have wings and can fly short distances, guinea fowls usually choose to run to escape danger. They can sprint at speeds of up to 22 miles per hour and possess an extremely agile ability to change direction. Their diet also holds an important ecological role. Their main food is seeds, tubers, and insects, but guinea fowls are also capable of catching small reptiles. The muddy belt around the waterholes is an ideal place to forage, especially in the dry season when insects are attracted to the damp areas. By concentrating their foraging right at the water's edge, guinea fowls have reduced the risk of having to approach the dangerous water's edge too closely. And yet, amidst that commotion, a colossal figure is silently approaching. It is estimated that there are about 28 to 30 million individuals in the wild. The majority live outside protected areas and have adapted very well. Amidst the noisy chaos of the ground birds, a completely contrasting presence approaches, tall, majestic, and almost completely silent. Unlike many other grazers that usually move in the early morning or late afternoon, giraffes mainly drink water between noon and late afternoon. It is a calculated choice. Predators are less likely to lurk around waterholes during the hottest hours, as lions, leopards, and hyenas usually seek shade to rest. With their superior height, giraffes can spot danger from a great distance. But when in the vulnerable drinking position, they are temporarily exposed. They do not keep their heads bowed for too long. Each sip of water lasts only a few seconds, quick and decisive, always accompanied by a raising of the head to scan the surroundings. When traveling in a large herd, a few individuals will stand guard, while the others drink. Height, the most prominent feature of the giraffe, is both an advantage and a challenge. Thanks to its stature, the giraffe can reach the high canopy leaves that most other grazers cannot, especially the leaves of the acacia tree. To handle this thorny meal, the giraffe uses its long, dark purple tongue, which can be from 18 to 20 inches long. They do not migrate as far as some of the larger antelope species, but giraffes do move seasonally, traveling between dry and wet areas. However, despite their enormous size, giraffes leave a surprisingly light ecological footprint. Their presence at a waterhole is like a long shadow at noon, quiet, serene, and keeping a respectful distance. They always avoid waterholes with steep banks, deep water, or obscured views. But even a panoramic view cannot hide the lurker beneath the surface. Instead, they prefer places with gentle banks, clear water, hard ground, and a wide open view. Because the threat does not only come from behind or from the flanks, it lurks right in front, perfectly camouflaged as a floating log, just waiting for that single moment of vulnerability. Under the scorching sun of the African savanna, a fierce struggle for survival is silently unfolding. As the waterholes dry up, they turn into arenas for the thirsty. But beneath the murky water, an ancient hunting machine awaits. It is the Nile crocodile, a master of the art of camouflage and patience. With bodies over 16 feet long and weighing nearly 1,500 pounds, they are the undisputed rulers of the riverine world. Only their eyes and nostrils protrude from the water. They watch their prey in silence. They do not need the speed of a cheetah, but rely on a deadly stillness. A surprise snap at a speed of 40 feet per second is enough to seal the prey's fate. The prey is dragged into the deep water before it even realizes the danger. As cold-blooded creatures, crocodiles are completely dependent on the ambient temperature to survive. When it gets too hot, they come ashore, opening their mouths wide to cool down through evaporation, an impressive adaptation. Their diet changes with size, from insects when young to large animals like buffalo when they are adults. Their legacy spans millions of years, etched in every scale and every powerful bite. Recent genetic analysis has revealed the existence of 2 distinct Nile crocodile species in Africa. On the stage of life and death, the Nile crocodile remains an eternal symbol of primal power. At the large waterholes, the hippos reign as uncrowned kings. They share their domain with the crocodiles in a fragile truce. But when the dry season tightens its grip, that peaceful coexistence quickly shatters. With their massive bodies and skin lacking sweat glands, water is their only salvation from the scorching heat. Weighing over 1.5 tons, they do not swim but glide gracefully along the muddy bottom. When living space shrinks, these gentle giants turn into fierce warriors. Yawns are no longer a sign of tiredness, but a deadly challenge. By wagging their tails to fling dung, they send unmistakable messages of power. When night falls, another life begins. They leave their watery fortress, journeying for miles inland to feed, always returning before dawn. Night falls, turning the savanna into a stage of life and death. This is the world of the leopard, the solitary phantom of the night. The waterhole, the source of life for all species, now becomes a death trap under its watch. Hidden in the shadows, its rosette-patterned coat makes it perfectly invisible. Its eyes, 2 glowing gems, pierce the darkness, searching for a moment of the prey's vulnerability. Patience is its ultimate weapon, every movement calculated to perfection. And then, in a flash, it strikes, a whirlwind of muscle and claws. Its extraordinary strength allows it to drag its prey up a tree, safe from the competitors on the ground. A master of adaptation, it survives where others must fail. But even this perfect predator is facing an uncertain future. Recent ecological studies have found that vultures often fly at altitudes of 1,600 to 5,000 feet around waterholes during the dry season. This is when the mortality rate of animals is high due to exhaustion, malnutrition, or injuries sustained while competing for water. From above, with vision 3 to 4 times sharper than humans, they can spot a wildebeest that has strayed from its herd. Unlike New World vultures, which rely heavily on their sense of smell, African vultures are completely dependent on sight. This effect can attract dozens or even hundreds of vultures in less than an hour. Their bald heads and necks allow them to delve deep into the chest cavity or abdominal region of a carcass without their feathers getting matted or dirty. Their strong, curved beaks can tear through the thick hide of large animals like the African buffalo or giraffe. A long, flexible neck allows them to access the most nutrient-rich organs, the liver, heart, and intestines, which are full of protein and minerals. Their immune system is a biological marvel. With stomach acid at a pH of nearly 1, they can neutralize pathogens. Their migratory behavior is much more flexible than that of many other birds of prey. And then, another opportunist enters the scene. They can travel hundreds of miles to follow the movements of wildebeest and zebra or to reach areas affected by drought. At the waterhole, the competition for food is not just among different vulture species, but also includes the marabou stork. Both feed on the carrion left over from a predator's kill, but the vultures have the advantage in numbers, tearing strength, and speed of arrival. They often arrive just minutes after the vultures have started to gather. The marabous land with a slow but determined gait, walking straight into the crowd. In many cases, that beak becomes a weapon used to push back rivals and snatch the best pieces of meat. Their evolutionary adaptations are clearly reflected in their physical traits. Like many vultures, their heads and necks are almost bald, sometimes with only a few downy feathers, which minimizes the risk of contamination. Their large, strong, and straight beaks act like a dagger, capable of cutting through tough muscle tissue and even killing small prey. Their diet shows just how opportunistic they are. Besides carrion, marabou storks also eat fish, frogs, insects, lizards, young birds, eggs, and rodents. They frequently forage in garbage dumps near human settlements, where leftover food becomes a convenient source of energy. Sometimes they wait for the vultures to tear open the thick hide before stepping in to take the soft tissues inside, saving effort and avoiding risk. At the waterhole, their role extends beyond scavenging. The marabou stork watches the weak or injured animals closely, striking with quick pecks. They are also known to hunt fish in the dwindling pools as the dry season deepens. But that long beak can also be a disadvantage, making it difficult to grip slippery fish in the muddy water. But high above, a pair of golden eyes is watching every mistake. Perched motionless on a bare, sun-bleached branch, the African fish eagle locks its piercing golden eyes on the scene below. The splash of water and the flapping of wings become a signal too loud to ignore. The eagle leans forward slightly, spreads its 7.5-foot wingspan, and dives, the wind whistling as it descends. But it is not aiming for the fish in the water. It is aiming for the one holding it. A sharp cry rips through the air, and the marabou stork freezes, glancing up for a fraction of a second. Just a moment's hesitation, and the fish slips from its beak, falling onto the muddy ground. In a flash, the African fish eagle folds its wings and swoops down like an arrow, its legs extended, its talons lined with rough, horny scales. The African fish eagle is a close relative of the North American bald eagle. It is found widely throughout sub-Saharan Africa, from the Great Lakes like Victoria, Tanganyika, and Malawi to the major rivers like the Nile and the Zambezi. Their movements are not long-distance migrations, but seasonal shifts driven by food availability. In the ecosystem, the African fish eagle plays a dual role. It is a top predator of fish and waterfowl, and at the same time a scavenger and a kleptoparasite, taking advantage of meals caught by others. As darkness fades over the still water of the waterhole, the last sounds of the night begin to fall silent. All that remains is the harshness of the deep, dry season, tightening its grip on the savanna. The predators have retreated, leaving behind a heavy silence. This is the beginning of a new day, a day where the lines of survival are drawn ever more sharply. The savanna enters its most arid period of the year, the deep dry season, where all life is drawn to a single focal point, the waterhole. Under the increasingly intense sun, the waterline recedes day by day, leaving behind a crust of cracked mud and a jumble of overlapping tracks. The small, shallow pools are the first to disappear. During prolonged droughts, the water level in many smaller holes drops steadily by 1 to 2 inches a day. In less than 2 weeks, a shallow depression can be completely dry. The deeper, larger water holes that remain become the final gathering points of the savanna. Every species converges. Whether it is an elephant leading its herd across dozens of miles, or an impala weaving through the bush, all are drawn to the single, dwindling source of water. There are no longer boundaries between predator and prey, no longer a choice of a safer time to drink. No longer space to keep a safe distance. The waterhole becomes nature's last supper. The Cape buffalo are often the first to arrive, simply because they are rarely far away. They find their way to the waterhole through the arid African savanna. This buffalo species is widely distributed throughout southern and eastern Africa, with a total African buffalo population estimated at around 513,000 individuals. That number continues to decline, a long-term trend due to habitat loss, hunting, and climate change. They have adapted through a strong herd lifestyle. Groups can range from a few dozen to over 1,000 individuals, with a clear social structure and hierarchy. When they approach the waterhole, their first instinct is to drink. They usually arrive in the early morning or late afternoon to avoid the scorching heat. The mud along the water's edge offers more than just refreshment. The Cape buffalo wallow in it to cool down, protecting themselves from flies, mosquitoes, and parasites. When it dries, the mud acts as a natural armor. This is also when social interactions occur most frequently. But the waterhole is by no means safe. This life-sustaining resource always brings competition. Sometimes the Cape buffalo confronts a rhino. But when the true giants arrive, all must give way. In the stillness of the landscape, those calls travel far, creating a kind of primal music that only those who have heard it firsthand can truly understand. The gray-crowned crane does not need a breeding season to perform its courtship dance. This ritual is an essential part of their social behavior. As two cranes face each other, their legs begin to bounce gently. Then suddenly, they leap into the air. They spin, they bow, they sway, they flap their wings, and they call, sometimes even tossing sticks or blades of grass as props in this expressive, emotional display. Researchers believe that these dances are not just mating rituals. They strengthen the bond between lifelong pairs. Although not a long-distance migrant, the grey-crowned crane does move seasonally, following the water sources and the promise of lush vegetation. They are widely distributed throughout eastern and southern Africa. This bird is the national symbol of Uganda, appearing at the center of the nation's flag in a proud stance, representing grace, composure, and national pride. In the wild, the grey-crowned crane lives for an average of 20 to 25 years, and in captivity, they can live up to 35 or even 40 years. However, their status as a cultural icon comes not from their longevity, but from their refined demeanor, complex social habits, and their unique ability to express emotion. Then, suddenly, a brilliant red beak silently descends into the shallows. The saddle-billed stork quietly wades into the shallows. Its brilliant red beak, banded with yellow, glints in the light. Unlike ambush predators like the heron, the saddle-billed stork hunts with a more active and deliberate method. It often forages alone or in pairs, wading slowly through the shallows with a calm, focused demeanor. Its unhurried steps and sweeping gaze scan the water's surface. The waterhole is a lifeline, a gathering place, a battlefield, a stage, all existing in a small space, but connecting hundreds of species. To humans, it may seem like nothing more than a mud puddle, but for the wild world, it is where life begins, is reborn, and reconnects. And as the rains begin to fade across the savanna, where the ground is cracked and the dry bushes struggle under the heat, the waterholes are no longer a gift of nature. They become a battlefield against disappearance. Under these conditions, conservation efforts are launched with urgency and innovation. In Kenya's Tsavo Conservancy, 2 new boreholes have been drilled deep into the earth, providing a stable source of water for the people, their livestock, and the countless herds of wildlife. In Zimbabwe's Hwange National Park, over 25 hybrid solar and diesel pumps work continuously, keeping the waterholes full, even at night. In South Africa, artificial waterholes are strategically placed based on the specific preferences of each species. Every drop of water is no longer something that falls freely. It is preserved through the combined efforts of science, local communities, and silent guardians. But that life cannot exist without the protective hand of man. Conservation is not just the work of organizations. It begins with awareness and the small actions of each individual. Because when the natural world suffers anywhere, we, wherever we are, also lose a part of ourselves. And if you have ever experienced an African safari, watching rhinos and elephants gather at a waterhole to quench their thirst, do not hesitate to share your knowledge and experience. Your story could become the spark that ignites future conservation efforts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join us on the next extraordinary adventure. $1.5 million wildebeest surge in an endless wave of migration from the Serengeti to the Masai Mara. 5 million antelope sweep across the vast grasslands between South Sudan and Ethiopia. Tens of thousands of plain zebra make a round trip of nearly 600 miles, a great pilgrimage across the savanna. The migrations of the savanna. From world-renowned odysseys to silent journeys, they keep the pulse of the African wild forever in motion. When the rainy season first touches the savanna, the earth seems to awaken. African elephants leave the arid grasslands, seeking water before it is too late. Zebra travel hundreds of miles, with lions stalking them at narrow passes. Spotted hyenas follow silently, watching for the blue wildebeest that fall behind in the great search for life. Thompson's gazelles follow in the footsteps of the pioneers, but always with an unease at the lightning speed of the cheetah. They cross savannas, woodlands, and wetlands. Every step keeps the rhythm of Africa alive and unbroken. Migration, a search for life that repeats with the seasons or over the course of a lifetime. For many species, it is instinct. For others, it is a flexible choice, shaped by physical condition, climate, or ecological pressure. But whether obligatory or optional, they all leave their current home to find a better place for breeding, feeding, or escaping harsh conditions. This movement is often driven by changes in temperature, rainfall, or the scarcity of resources. When the dry season arrives and the rivers run dry, when the young grass and fruits are gone, the animals must keep moving to survive. The African savanna is the clearest expression of the power and fragility of these seasonal movements. Here, The vast grasslands seem to stretch endlessly, where the earth and sky carry the eternal rhythm of fire, rain, and rebirth. They follow the rains, searching for the promised lands of green. Seasonal migration is the annual cyclical movement of animals in response to changes in climate, food, and water. It occurs along a fixed route, repeated year after year, sometimes for thousands of kilometers. Ecologists call it seasonal migration because it is predictable. This behavior is driven by the contrast between the wet and dry seasons. When the rains are plentiful, vegetation flourishes, creating a fresh food source. When the rains subside and the grass withers, the animals retreat, returning to safer areas, sometimes the very places they left months before. Of all the seasonal migrations, perhaps the most famous is the Great Migration. In the Serengeti ecosystem, which spans over 12,000 square miles across Tanzania and Kenya, one of the largest and most spectacular migrations on Earth takes place. Millions of blue wildebeest move in a great arc, along with hundreds of thousands of Thompson's gazelles and zebras. Each year, this four-legged caravan travels about 500 miles in a closed loop, searching for water, fresh grass, and safe breeding grounds. On this journey, Grant's zebra is the silent pioneer, clearing the path. This is the smallest subspecies of the plains zebra, and also the most numerous in East Africa. Unlike the wildebeest, they do not instinctively follow the path of the rains. Their journey has a clearer purpose, and above all, it is strategic. Grant's zebras have a hindgut fermentation digestive system, allowing them to process the old, coarse grasses that wildebeest often avoid. As those layers of grass are trimmed by the zebra's sharp teeth, the soft, young shoots beneath are exposed, ready for the grazers that follow. There seems to be a perfect but unspoken coordination, as the two species make the most of the vegetation without direct competition. They have a strong memory of the landscape, of the great rivers, of which banks are less steep and where there is more grass than rock. The combination of natural instinct and spatial memory forms a living network of information within the herd. When crossing the Mara or Grumeti rivers, zebras are often the first to plunge into the water. They do not wait, nor do they hesitate for long. This behavior inadvertently becomes a signal for the other migrating species, keeping the migration from descending into chaos. The zebra's social structure also helps protect the entire herd from predators. When traveling with wildebeest, the two species create a flexible warning system. Grant's zebras detect threats with their keen eyesight and hearing, while wildebeest are more sensitive to smell and movement. Together, they significantly reduce the risk of being ambushed by lions, leopards, or spotted hyenas. But the Great Migration is far from easy. It is estimated that up to 250,000 individuals perish each year on this challenging journey due to thirst, hunger, exhaustion, or predation. For the blue wildebeest, the most numerous pilgrims, how do they maintain their numbers? They follow a very simple principle. There is strength in numbers when it comes to breeding. From January to March, on the southern plains of the Serengeti, about 500,000 calves are born in just a few short weeks. This synchronized birthing is an evolutionary strategy designed to overwhelm the predators. When so many young are born at once, the chances of survival for each individual increase. No matter how agile and cunning the predators are, they cannot possibly catch them all. Within minutes, its slender, trembling legs have lifted its small body upright, and within 15 minutes, it is able to run alongside its mother. If it does not quickly gain strength, even the largest herd cannot keep it safe. The predators waste no time in targeting the young. By April, the long rains drench the western Serengeti. Fresh grass grows in the western corridor while the southern plains begin to dry out. The wildebeest herds begin to move west, then gradually head north. By July, the migration reaches the Grumeti and Mara rivers, where the most arduous challenges await. These rivers are not only deep and fast-flowing, but are also home to Nile crocodiles up to 16 feet long, lying in wait beneath the surface. As the wildebeest herds pour into the water, chaos erupts. The sounds of bellowing, splashing water, and snapping jaws echo along the banks. Thousands are lost in just a few hours. But the survivors continue to press north towards the Masai Mara, where the grass is still green and recent rains have filled the waterholes. From September to October, the herds temporarily settle in the Masai Mara. But this respite is brief, and this land is not just green grass. As the sun sets, another sound rises. The laugh of the spotted hyena. Contrary to misconception, they are remarkably efficient predators, with up to 95% of their diet in many areas coming from active hunts. With fearsome stamina and organized pack tactics, they are a formidable force. But their ultimate weapon is their jaw, with a bite force of up to 1,000 pounds force, strong enough to crush even the thickest of bones. It is this ability to utilize everything, from their own kills to scavenging, that makes them the true ecological managers of the savanna. By November, the short rains return to the southern Serengeti. The land once again changes color. Fresh grass begins to sprout, and the wildebeest herds silently return. No command is given. No single individual leads the way. But somehow, the entire herd moves in consensus. Year after year, they return to the same familiar stopping points, following the old trails. However, not every individual migrates. Some small groups stay year-round, near reliable water sources. This shows that migration is not an absolute instinct. And when the feast of the grasslands has been prepared by the powerful jaws of Grant's zebra and the blue wildebeest, the Thompson's gazelle arrives. In the Serengeti Masai Mara ecosystem, the Thompson's gazelle, often called the Tommy, is the third most numerous in the migrating herbivore trio. What makes them special is not their numbers, but how they capitalize on the ecological order created by the species that went before them. As the zebras trim the tall, coarse grass, and the wildebeest handle the middle layer, that is when the real delicacies are revealed. The soft young shoots, the green buds, and the tender leaves right at ground level. That is when the Thompson's gazelle comes into play. Although part of the Great Migration, the Thompson's gazelle follows a much shorter and more flexible route than the others. They tend to stay in the southern Serengeti longer, especially after the rainy season ends. Thanks to their high drought tolerance and specific dietary needs, they do not need to travel far for food. However, the Tommy still depends on surface water, and this is the limiting factor for their range. As the streams gradually dry up, they adjust their route, but always within a manageable range. The stotting behavior, leaping high into the air on all four legs, is not just a sign of alertness, but also a warning signal to the herd. With a top speed of up to 43 miles per hour combined with zigzagging leaps to evade, they are not an easy target. But even that may not be enough to deter a cheetah. During the migration, the cheetah does not follow the flow of herbivores like other predators, but constantly changes its hunting range based on the presence of prey. The cheetah's hunting success rate with lions is about 58%, much higher than the average for other large cats like lions or leopards. Under the fiery sky of the Masai Mara, herds of Thompson's gazelles are scattered across the plains. In the golden grass, a cheetah presses itself low to the ground. Its lean, supple body glides like a gust of wind. The black tear lines running from its eyes to its mouth help reduce the sun's glare, and its gaze is locked onto a young gazelle that has strayed from its mother. It moves upwind, using the low mounds to close the distance to just 130 feet. Its spine, coiled like a steel spring, uncoils in an instant. Its semi-retractable claws dig into the earth, and its body launches to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. Its long tail whips like a rudder as the gazelle twists and turns. Within a few feet, the cheetah swings a foreleg into its prey's flank. The gazelle stumbles, then tumbles in a cloud of dust. The chase lasts less than a minute, but every second is a culmination of speed, precision, and evolutionary refinement. Unable to defend its prey against larger predators, the cheetah eats very quickly. It has only about 10 to 15 minutes to tear at the flesh before a spotted hyena or a lion discovers and steals its meal. It chooses to abandon its prey and retreat, not out of weakness, but as a survival strategy to conserve energy and live to hunt another day. The Great Migration is famous for its massive migrating herds and equally fierce predator-prey confrontations. It is the law of nature. The strong continue the journey and the weak are left behind. But Africa still holds other migrations, the raw gems of the wild. Among them is the Liuwa Plain Migration, the second largest wildebeest migration in Africa. Unlike the perilous journey of the Serengeti, Liuwa has a gentler feel, more like a collective pilgrimage to the promised grasslands. However, the goal remains the same, to find a safe place to breed and enough food to raise the next generation. Around October, when the first rains begin to soak the cracked earth, the grasslands of Liuwa awaken. From all directions, over 45,000 blue wildebeest, along with herds of plains, zebra, and smaller lechwe antelope, begin their journey south. The Liuwa migration may lack the grand spectacle of the Serengeti, but its very quietness lends it the feeling of a pilgrimage. Speaking of intelligence, spatial memory, and life experience, perhaps no animal can compare to the mighty African bush elephant. When the savanna begins to turn a withered yellow, when the last traces of water recede from the rock pools, the African elephants begin to move. In the savanna ecosystem, they are one of the few creatures that can redesign their survival route each year, not through genetic programming, but through memory, experience, and social transmission. Each herd is led by a matriarch, the oldest and most experienced female, often over 40 years old. She remembers every hidden waterhole, every thicket that will fruit after the first rains, and the exact time to set off. Her herd can travel 30 to 50 miles in a single night to reach water, even when there are no signs on the surface. The young elephants learn these routes by following the matriarch, like a practical survival course. In the Gourma region of Mali, elephants living between the savanna and the semi-desert Sahel have been recorded making a circular migration covering an area of up to 12,000 square miles. Their annual journey is about 300 to 370 miles long, one of the longest land migrations ever recorded for elephants. Here, water is scarce, vegetation is sparse, the climate is harsh, and temperatures can exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Survival is not a matter of random wandering. Along the way, their heavy footsteps clear a path through the bush, creating corridors for zebra, antelope, and hundreds of other species. When they encounter a dry riverbed, they use their trunks and feet to dig deep into the sand, tapping into the cool groundwater. These small wells quickly become gathering points for monkeys, birds, and even predators. To travel such distances, elephants must overcome both ecological and man-made challenges. According to a report by the African Wildlife Foundation, the lower Zambezi is under severe pressure from deforestation, and corridor fragmentation, pushing elephant populations into smaller spaces. The African elephant is not just seeking survival. They are keeping the lifeblood of the savanna flowing. If the African elephant chooses to cross hundreds of miles of cracked earth to connect distant water sources, the African buffalo writes a different story. Their journey consists of short, deliberate movements, each shaped by a survival strategy honed over thousands of wet and dry seasons. Not bound by a single route, the African buffalo lives in a variety of habitats, from open grasslands to acacia woodlands. When the dry season arrives, when the earth cracks and the grass is reduced to brittle stalks, they retreat to the wetter core areas. The strength of the herd comes not just from muscle, but from unity and collective intelligence. Instead of being led by a single dominant individual, the buffalo herd votes in a unique way. When it is time to move, the adult females begin to stand up and face the direction they think is best. The direction that receives the most consensus becomes the path for the entire herd. When on the move, smaller herds may merge into superherds of 1,000 to 2,000 individuals. Such a massive gathering is a natural defense strategy. The buffalo herd with thousands of eyes, thousands of curved horns, is an almost impenetrable wall. However, not all African buffalo herds migrate. In landscapes with year-round water and rapidly regenerating grass, a portion will stay put. Across the vast habitat network of the Kavango-Zambezi-Kaza Transfrontier Conservation Area, lions move as silently as ghosts, tracking every shift of their prey. When the rainy season disperses the African buffalo, a lion's home range can expand to over 270 square miles. However, in the dry season, their range can shrink to just 40 to 115 square miles, concentrating around waterholes and floodplains where prey gathers. The presence of prey determines up to 75.9% of the space lions used, followed by proximity to water sources. The midday sun beats down on the golden grasslands. The ground trembles under the heavy tread of the buffalo herd. From a distance, figures press themselves to the ground, weaving through the acacia bushes. They are the lionesses, the primary hunters of the pride. They do not attack head-on, but split into multiple directions, moving upwind. Two on the left flank deliberately reveal themselves, herding the buffalo closer to the ambush point. A surprise pounce shatters the silence. One lioness lunges forward, her jaws clamping onto the throat. Another clamps down on the muzzle to cut off the air supply. The buffalo gradually succumbs to the combined weight of multiple attackers. Behind them, a male lion stands guard. Its thick mane is not just an armor that partially protects its neck from the horns, but also a powerful symbol of health and dominance. Females often favor males with darker, denser manes. and it is also a warning signal to other challengers. Male lions rarely lead the hunt, but they are crucial for the pride's survival. They are a living deterrent, the protection in battle. They also possess a unique tool, the roar. Low and powerful, a lion's roar can carry for up to 5 miles, marking territory and maintaining contact. Lions do not strictly follow the migrations, but they always track the movement of their prey between habitats. If the African buffalo is divided into movers and stayers, then the common eland is the true master of the nomadic life. They are not bound by fixed routes or specific seasons, but let their steps follow the green trails of fresh grass and the glint of water. The common eland is the largest antelope, with a shoulder height of nearly 6 feet and a weight that can reach nearly a ton. However, it is also the slowest antelope, with a top speed of about 25 miles per hour. The eland does not defend a territory. When the rains come, they quickly move to areas where fresh grass has sprouted. But when the rains stop and the grass withers, they move on. Their path may lead to open woodland, granite hills, or thorny bushland. Like the common eland, the marabou stork never stays still. But while the eland chases the green of new grass, the marabou stork seeks the carcasses of the less fortunate. Not bound by any fixed migratory schedule, they move with the changing tides of food and water. The marabou stork has the look of an undertaker. Its dark, slate-grey plumage drapes over its shoulders like a faded cloak, a bald head, and a bare neck mottled with purple veins. When the water in the floodplains begins to recede, fish, frogs, and insects surface in the mud, creating an ideal feeding ground. But when the land becomes more arid, the marabou stork will fly hundreds of miles. Their destination could be newly formed inland lakes or places with mass die-offs after disease outbreaks. However, what makes the marabou stork a unique link in the ecological web is that it is not entirely tied to the wild. When the floodplains dry up, or the carcasses decompose too quickly in the heat, the marabou stork may switch to living beside city dumps. If the marabou stork evokes the image of a crude scavenger, then the lesser flamingo is its perfect opposite. Slender, brilliantly pink, and as graceful as a dancer on the water. Where the sun bakes the pale, mineral-rich lakes and a salt crust forms on the mud. The world's most numerous flamingo species undertakes its mysterious migrations. They pursue a single goal, the bloom of the cyanobacterium spirulina, the almost exclusive food source that sustains the entire flock. With an estimated population of 2.2 to 3.2 million adult individuals, the lesser flamingo is concentrated mainly in East Africa and Southern Africa. They choose soda lakes with extremely high alkalinity, often with a pH of 9.5 to 11.0, an environment almost uninhabitable for most animals, but a biological paradise for spirulina. When the spirulina levels in a lake begin to decline, the flamingo flock departs almost in unison for another, more promising lake. These journeys can last from a few dozen to hundreds of miles, often undertaken at night. From an altitude of hundreds of feet, they can see the turquoise and emerald patches standing out on the water. That is the signal of life. They remember the places that once brought abundance, the shallow lakes that changed color after a rainstorm or when the water receded. Not all migrations in Africa echo with the hooves of millions, or are followed by enormous clouds of dust. In many grasslands, semi-arid regions, or seasonal wetlands, there are natural movements so silent that a casual observer could easily miss them. Ecologists describe some of these as subtle, sometimes partial, or lacking complete synchrony, dispersal migrations. These movements are often limited to a range of just a few dozen miles. They occur in scattered patterns. The species involved often include the springbok, some populations of reedbuck, and many locally migrating grassland or water birds. This is the springbok. Its current population is estimated at around 2 to 2.5 million individuals. It follows a loosely defined regional migration, just enough to escape the dry heat and just enough to regain vitality in pockets of young grass. In an environment of constantly changing temperature and humidity, it does not migrate on a fixed schedule, but changes its location according to an irregular ecological rhythm. A single unseasonal rain is enough to change its direction. History records the phenomenon known as trekbokken, mass movements of springbok in the 19th century. Hundreds of thousands would sweep across the arid land after the rains, but that spectacle has almost vanished. Fences, agricultural expansion, and modern infrastructure have fractured the ancient habitat corridors. The large herds have broken up into smaller populations, and the medium-scale migrations of today have become short-range shifts. Waiting for them there is the African leopard. Without the collective strength of the lion or the incredible speed of the cheetah, the leopard holds a unique position in the wild. It is built on the skills of a solitary hunter and an almost unparalleled ability to adapt to any change in its surroundings. Whether in the dense forests of Central Africa, the grasslands of the Serengeti, or even on the outskirts of expanding cities, this species is recorded. This diversity of habitat also means a much more flexible lifestyle. When food becomes scarce, they can switch from hunting antelope to catching porcupines. Their non-selective diet allows them to seize every opportunity, from small antelopes and monkeys to birds and rodents. Combined with their extraordinary ability to camouflage, they can approach almost invisibly until the moment of their lightning-fast attack. Scientific records show they can drag prey more than twice their body weight up a tree over 16 feet high. Each branch becomes a larder, keeping their prize safe from opportunistic thieves like spotted hyenas or lions. Their behavior is not just instinct, but a survival strategy refined over millions of years of evolution. This time, the target is a reedbuck. Unlike the springbok hunt, there is nothing standing between the leopard and its prey. The seasoned predator simply waits in silence. Creeping forward without a sound, it circles a bush. When the distance closes to about 6 feet, it lunges, a single bite to the neck. Classified as a medium to large antelope, the reedbuck weighs from 100 to 143 pounds, with a sturdy yet slender build. It is typically found in moist savannas, riverine grasslands, marsh edges, or seasonal floodplains. Unlike the springbok, the reedbuck lives at a gentler pace, closely tied to its home range. It does not undertake transcontinental migrations, but instead makes short-term or seasonal movements, usually along riverine grasslands. However, whether the migration is seasonal, interbiome, or silent in the tall grass, they all depend on one crucial factor: connected space. This is why migratory corridors are the ecological lifeblood of the entire continent. Migratory corridors are not just routes that animals travel seasonally. They are ecological spaces that connect fragmented habitats. They help maintain genetic integrity, ecological balance, and population stability, and, most importantly, increase resilience to climate change. When a corridor is cut by roads, fences, agriculture, or urban development, the impact is not just the blockage of a few individuals. It means population fragmentation, loss of genetic diversity, lower reproductive rates, and in many cases, local decline. The Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, CAZA, which spans the intersection of Angola, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, is the largest transboundary wildlife corridor in Africa.
Beneath a seemingly endless horizon, a secret world operates on its own ancient terms. This is more than a landscape. It is an arena, vast and primal, governed by rules written long before the dawn of humanity. Here, peace is a fragile luxury. Survival is the only currency, and there is no margin for error. Apex predators watch in silence, their patience measured in the whispers of the wind. Conversely, the great herds are in constant motion, a relentless pilgrimage in search of life. Welcome, then, to the greatest theatre on earth, where the script is written not in ink, but in blood and instinct. Millions of years ago, Africa underwent a profound transformation. The lush forests receded as the climate grew more arid, more unforgiving. This dramatic shift compelled an entire ecosystem to evolve. Green gave way to gold, forging the vast savanna we know today. Many species, unable to adapt, vanished into extinction. But the survivors mastered the open spaces, where speed, power, and cooperation became the keys to existence. Migration we witness still. As millions of herbivores trek across these plains for pasture and water. The evolution of its apex predators is another remarkable chapter in this story, shaping the land's delicate equilibrium. The lion, king of the savanna, is one of its most formidable predators. Unlike many other great cats, they are social creatures, living in prides. This unique social structure makes them exceptionally effective hunters, working in concert to bring down large prey like wildebeest and buffalo. The lionesses are more than hunters. They are masters of military tactics. A flawless ambush, a breathtaking display of precision and discipline. While thousands of wildebeest trust in the safety of numbers, the queens of the grassland have already locked onto their target. Here, death does not arrive by chance. It arrives by design. The male lion, meanwhile, leads a life of constant vigilance. His incredible strength is dedicated to a single purpose: to shield the pride from rivals, securing the territory and its young. And his most potent tool in this defense is his roar. A male lion's roar can be heard up to 5 miles away. In the Serengeti, lions take thousands of wildebeest and zebra each year, playing a vital role in regulating herbivore populations and maintaining the health of the ecosystem. Often misunderstood as mere scavengers, the spotted hyena is, in fact, a formidable predator of remarkable intelligence and social complexity. Hyena society is ruled by females, a complex and rare matriarchy in the mammalian world. The lead female is not only larger and more powerful than the males, but she also passes her social rank down to her. Their characteristic laugh is no expression of joy. It is a complex vocalization conveying submission, excitement, or stress during a conflict. If lions are royalty, then spotted hyenas are the shrewd masters of the underworld. Forget the caricatures you may have seen. These are hunters whose success rate can exceed that of lions. Hunting as a clan, hyenas use coordinated strategies to isolate weaker individuals. They possess one of the most powerful bites of any terrestrial mammal, allowing them to crush bone and consume nearly every part of their prey. They can pursue their quarry over great distances, running it to exhaustion. They teach a ruthless lesson. In the game of survival, intelligence and unity can be more fearsome than sheer muscle. And by cleaning the plains of carrion left by other predators, they help prevent the spread of disease, keeping the ecosystem healthy. If the lion is king and the hyena a master strategist, then the cheetah is the savanna's spirit of speed. Unlike lions, cheetahs are solitary hunters. The fastest land animal on the planet, the cheetah is engineered for acceleration, capable of reaching speeds of over 70 miles per hour. They rely on exceptional eyesight to spot prey from afar before launching a high-speed chase. This vision is aided by a unique adaptation, the long, black lines that run from the corners of their eyes to their mouths, often called tear marks. Its ability to accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just a few seconds is a marvel of biological engineering. These are not for decoration. They function like natural sunglasses, reducing the sun's glare and allowing the cheetah to focus on its prize in the harshest midday light. But nature is a great leveler. The cheetah can only maintain this explosive pace for a short time before its body overheats. This makes them vulnerable. Their kills often stolen by larger predators like lions and hyenas. Every hunt is therefore a calculated risk. The cheetah is a poignant reminder that to be the best at one thing can be a critical weakness against those who are masters of all trades. With only around 7,000 individuals left in the wild, the cheetah is classified as vulnerable, threatened primarily by habitat loss and conflict with humans. The Great Migration is one of the world's most spectacular natural events. An endless cycle of movement covering nearly 600 miles through the Serengeti in Tanzania and into the Masai Mara in Kenya. Each year, some 1.5 million wildebeest, accompanied by hundreds of thousands of zebra, begin this great pilgrimage in search of fresh grazing and water. This alliance between wildebeest and zebra is no accident. They are perfect partners. The wildebeest possess a keen sense of smell, enabling them to detect distant rains and the promise of new grass. The zebra, in turn, have a remarkable memory for migration routes and safe watering holes. They rely on one another, their skills complementing each other, turning this perilous journey into a testament to the power of cooperation. This migration, driven by the rhythm of the wet and dry seasons, is the ultimate expression of nature's great cycles, an eternal dance between life and death. And yet they must go on. To stand still is to perish. As they cross the vast plains, they face innumerable dangers. Rivers, like the Mara, become lethal obstacles teeming with waiting crocodiles. The sacrifice of the many on this journey becomes the sustenance for the apex predators, fueling the food chain and preserving the savanna's fragile balance. As they move in their multitudes, they trim the overgrown grasses, making way for new shoots to emerge and creating a fresh, nutritious landscape for all. On the savanna, these grazers are more than just prey. They are the gardeners of this great landscape. Their grazing and the fertilization of the soil that follows ensure the grasslands remain healthy and diverse, supporting even the smallest herbivores. Yet this magnificent landscape and its inhabitants now face grave threats, placing their very existence in jeopardy. Climate change and human activities are the principal drivers behind the decline of many of these iconic species. As temperatures rise and rainfall becomes more erratic, survival for many has become a daily struggle. Deforestation is stripping away their natural habitat, while poaching, driven by the illegal demand for ivory and rhino horn, has devastated their populations. Each year, an estimated 20,000 elephants are killed for their tusks. This tragedy is not only a profound loss in itself, but a threat to the entire ecological balance. Conservation is no longer a choice, it is an imperative for the survival of both the wildlife and the wild heart of the African savanna. Protecting these apex predators is not just about preserving a magnificent spectacle. It is about maintaining the biological processes that keep the entire ecosystem in balance. By supporting conservation efforts and adopting sustainable practices, we can help ensure that future generations will also be able to witness this extraordinary realm.